So yesterday, what we have learned, not yesterday, day before yesterday, what we have learned about SDLC, right? So SDLC, we have different phases, and we have seen requirement analysis, design, development, testing, maintenance, and all, right? So I'm not taking too much time, otherwise you will be bored. Okay, so I will discuss SDLC models. There are number of models are there: waterfall model, V model, prototype model. So I will show you what are the models are there. Yeah. Mhm. Where it is SDLC models, waterfall model. Okay, here. So, so under SDLC models, we should learn about waterfall model, V model, prototype model. Rapid application development model is not needed because nowadays we are not using that. And spiral model, fish model. So we will see about these models. So first, I will discuss with the waterfall model. Let's see. Let us understand what is waterfall model. So previously, what we have learned, we have understood SDLC, right? So it is a step-by-step process which we have to follow to deliver the quality product to the customer, right? So now by using SDLC, the companies design their own models, or we can say process models. Okay, among them, the first and important model is waterfall model. Okay, this is waterfall model image. I hope it's visible for you. You are able to see this waterfall model image. You can ping me here in chat box.
It is a step-by-step process.
Yeah.
That is step-by-step process.
Yes. So this is very old and traditional model. Okay. So when software industry started, the first and initial model started with waterfall model. So it is very old and traditional model. So it is also called linear model. So if I just look at that picture, so it seems like waterfall model, the flow will be go down. You can see here. So the flow will be go down like this. So that's the reason we can say this. It is a simple waterfall model. Now let us understand what is this model and how the software development will happen in this particular model. And also we will discuss advantages and disadvantages of this particular model. So it is very important for interview purpose. So even though we are not following these models in these companies right now, we should understand this model. What are the drawbacks or disadvantages in this model, and why we are going with a new model. So all these models comes again SDLC, but approach is little different. So now let us understand what is this. So what is waterfall model? So here I prepared one document. Okay. So SDLC development life cycle. So next, the explanation of SDLC phases. And next, there are few more models are there. And first, waterfall model explanation. So you can just go through it and prepare yourself. This is enough for interview purpose. And spiral model and all, I have prepared the document. No need to prepare yourself. Okay, just go through it and refer it. I will send. Okay, and e-tech will help you. So let us understand first what is waterfall model. See, this is also one of the model which comes under SDLC. So, and whatever the phases we have seen in SDLC, the same phases will be there, but the approach will be different. So again, the waterfall model start with the requirement analysis here, right? So I'm going to mark this so that you can take clarity. See, so again, the waterfall model start with requirement analysis. Okay, again, we collect the requirement from the client and we will prepare certain documents. So here the main important is a documentation. Okay, what I'm saying, the aim here the main important is a documentation. Documentation in the sense each and every activity we will document here. Okay, in this model, documentation will play very important role. The first phase of requirement analysis. Okay, we will talk to the client. It means normally business people like project manager, product manager, these people involved in the communication between customers and companies. So they will collect the requirement from the customer. And once we get the requirements, they will prepare some document that is called SRS document. Okay, SRS document. So what is the meaning of SRS document? What is the full form of SRS? Software requirement specification document. Okay, so in that document, every requirement that they will develop which is taken from the client. So once the documentation is created, then system design will start here. Okay, system design will start. So what is system design? What is the meaning of system design? So whatever the documents we prepared during requirement analysis, based on that documents, the designers will be there. The designers again, the different team. So these people will design the software and they will prepare HLD and LLD documents. So last class we will also, we discuss about the HLD and what is HLD and LLD. So basically they will divide the entire requirement into HLD and into LLD. High level design, high level document and a low level document. So like small pieces of a software and finally integrate them. So the second phase is design phase. So in am in this phase, what happened? So based on the requirement document, the designers will prepare the design documents. Once the design phase is completed, then developers will develop or implement the software based on the design documents. Because as a developer, if I develop a software, I need some input, right? From where? From where I get the input? So based on that design, I have to develop the software. So the next phase is implementation. Okay? Or coding phase. We can say coding or implementation based on the design documents. So the coding will start after completion of implementation or development. Now the testing phase will start. So in this phase, what you will do? The testers going to test the software after the completion of development. And once the testing is completed, we will deploy the software in the customer environment. Deploy is nothing but we will install the software in the customer environment. And then they start using the software. That is a maintenance phase. This is one maintenance phase. So this is all about waterfall model. Now, if I look at that waterfall model picture, understand the behavior of the risk. Suppose here every phase, if we want to start a design, suppose the designers team, okay, the designers team is there and they want to start a design. What is the input for them? Requirement analysis, right? So what are the documents we required? SRS document. So which is prepared in the first phase will be the input to the next phase. Okay. So each and every phase needs some input and produce some output. For example, when I take requirement analysis phase, what is the input for this? If I take requirement analysis phase, what is the input for this? Customer requirements, right? Here, customer requirements required. And what is the output of this phase? SRS, requirement specification document. And this requirement specification document will be the input for the system design phase. Okay. And what is outcome of system design? Here, what is the outcome of system design? Based on these design documents, it will be input for the implementation. And what is the outcome of implementation phase? Code, right? 1 minute. Be online. So what I'm saying, so based on the design documents, it will be input for the implementation. And what is the outcome of implementation phase? Code. So code, right? Developers will implement the code or software, and once the outcome is software, and once delivered the software, and testing phase will start. What is the input for testing? The software itself. Once the developer provided the software for the testing team, testing will conduct. After completion of testing, what is the outcome? Test cases, test plan, test results. There are the outcome of testing phase. And there are the documents we have to prepare as a tester, and the deployment will happen. So in the deployment phase, we will prepare some documents like installation documents, functional flows, how the software will work using manual. These things provided to the customer. Based on that, the customer will using the software. So each and every phase is having certain input and it gives some output. That is the first point. The second point is, suppose if I want to start a design, until unless the requirement analysis completed, right? I cannot start the design. What is that meaning? Every phase depends on the previous phase of this model. So for example, designing here, system designing depends on requirement analysis, right? So implementation depends on the system design. So testing depends on the implementation. Deployment depends on the testing, right? So each phase, it depends on the previous phase. Until unless we completed this phase, we cannot go to the next phase. So this is the behavior of the waterfall model. So this is very old and traditional model where the companies were following in olden days. But now, what is the advantages and disadvantages? So many models came in the market, but why we move to the another model, that we need to understand, right? So what is the advantages and disadvantages that we will discuss now? So up to till now you have understand. You got it right, Vinod Reddy, right? Did you understand?
Yeah,
Yeah.
understand.
Sorry, you are not audible. Your voice is not clear, Vinod.
Yeah,
Please
madam,
give me here in chat. Your voice is not clear, Vinod. I understood, ma'am. Okay, thank you, Vinod. Okay, let's see what is the advantages of and disadvantages of water model. And I will show you one document here. Here you can see, right, advantages of waterfall model. So what is the first point? Quality of the product will be good. Why? This point is considered as the advantage of waterfall model. So I'm saying the first point is quality of the product will be good, because in the waterfall model, normally this waterfall model prepare for long-term projects. Okay. So Why the quality of the product will be good? Because every phase we have a detailed documentation. So whatever the activity we do, we will document it so that will be very, very clear for the people who are involved in the design phase. So development phase and testing phase. So what I'm saying, so here we have a detailed documentation so that we will understand for the people who are involved in every phase, like design phase, development phase, testing phase. So finally we will reach to the quality product. So that's why we consider quality of the product will be good. And what is the second point? Since the requirement changes are not allowed, chances of finding books will be less. So why I'm saying, since the requirement changes are not allowed, chances of finding bugs will be less. See, one more important point, guys. Suppose we got some requirement from the client and we have started design, coding somewhere in this particular phases. But again, the client came back and asked us to change something and to change some requirement. That is not possible in the waterfall model. So frequently changing the requirement, we cannot accommodate in the waterfall model. Why? Because this is a fixed model. Once you completed the requirement analysis, then design, then coding, then testing, deployment, go on like this. We cannot allow the new requirements. We cannot change the requirements in the middle of this phase. So because everything will be freeze, everything will be clear cut documentation. So the new requirement we cannot accept it in this model. So because of that reason, chances of finding bugs very less. And if we keep on changing the requirement or designing or coding, definitely chances to get number of bugs. But here, everything will be clear. The documentation will be clear, and we are not allowing the new requirements in the middle of the process. So there are less chances of bugs to find in this waterfall model. That is another advantage. Okay. So that's why I'm saying, since the requirement changes are not allowed, chances of finding bugs will be less. So what is the third point? Initial investment is less since the testers are hired at the later stages. So what is that meaning? Initial investment is less since the testers are hired at the later stages. So if I look at that waterfall model, okay, so once again, see, every phase will have different team, right? So like requirement analysis have a different team, design will be a different team, coding development will be different team, testing is a different team, and at the initial stage of software development process, we don't need all these team members. So initial stage, we just need only business people or like product manager, project manager. Then the designers will need. After completion of this phase, the programmers or we can say developers are needed. And then testers, we can recruit here. So until unless we completed these phases, we don't need testers, right? So the investment is very less. So that's the point we need to discuss here. Initial investment is less because we don't need to hire the people in the beginning stage. So whenever we need those people, we can recruit them and we can hire them. So that is the reason. Okay. So that's why here included initial investment is less since the testers are hired at the later stages. What is the fourth point? Preferred for small project when requirement is freeze. So especially this model preferred for small project where the requirements are freeze. Here the requirements are freeze, right? Because every phase we have a static documentation and every phase documents will be freeze. We cannot modify the documents again. We cannot go back and modify the documents. So if there is any requirement which are very static, which are not dynamically requirement, right? We have just static requirement. We are not changing the requirements frequently. So in those cases, we can go and prefer this model. Okay. So these are the few advantages of waterfall model. Let me repeat once again. What are the advantages of waterfall model? So first point is quality of the product will be good. Since the requirement changes are not allowed, chances of finding bugs will be less. So initial investment is less since the testers are hired at the later stages. Preferred for small project when where requirement is freeze. So these are the advantages of waterfall model. Now let us discuss disadvantages of waterfall model. See, because based on the drawbacks, the new models coming into the market. Every model, they're having own disadvantage. And then people are using different type of models. Even waterfall model also having drawbacks. Now we will see what are the drawbacks of waterfall model. The first point is requirement changes are not allowed. Suppose the client given some initial requirement here. We started design and implementation. We are implemented and in testing phase. So what I'm saying here, client giving some requirement. We started design, we started implementation. After implementation, we are going to test the software. So at that time, again, client came back and asked us to change some requirement or ask us to implement some new requirement. So that kind of requirement we cannot accommodate in the middle of the process. We cannot accommodate the frequent changes requirements, and we cannot accommodate in your software, I mean development process. This is one of the disadvantage of waterfall model. So that's why requirement changes are not allowed. That's why this point considered as the disadvantage of waterfall model. Okay. Waterfall model was old model. Sorry, I didn't see your message. Waterfall model was old model. So nowadays this model is using or not, madam? Yeah, nowadays we are not using waterfall model. Somewhere only few companies. One not see if you take it 10 companies, only one company using this waterfall model. Okay, so that's why I'm explaining this much. Okay, and most of the peoples are using agile methodology. So we will discuss in further session. So next point is uh, see if there is a defect in requirement that will be continued in the later phase. See, this is a fixed model. So once the phase is completed, once we move on the next phase, we cannot go back to previous phase. Okay. So the requirement changes are not allowed in the middle of the development process. What is the second point? If there is a defect in requirement, that will be continued in the later phase. So what is that meaning? Suppose in the requirement analysis, okay, in the requirement analysis phase, we have collected some requirement. Suppose if there is any problem, if there is any mistake in the requirement, that will be continued in the next phase. Because based on the requirement document, the design will happen and the same mistake will be continued in the next phase. If the design is wrong, then the coding also will be wrong. If the coding is wrong, then testing also will be wrong. And we cannot find those bugs. And if we miss the bug, again that bug will come under maintenance, right? Again that bug will be faced by the customer. So if there is any mistake in one phase, that will be continued in the next phases. This is one of the drawback. And the next point is sometimes total investment is more because time taking for rework on defect is time consuming, which leads to high investment. So what I'm saying, sometimes total investment is more. Why? Because time taking for rework on defect is time consuming, which leads to high investment. So what is that meaning? The total investment is more. Why I'm saying this point? Sometimes. Why? Because if you find any bugs in the middle of the phase, like suppose in the testing phase, here we have a testing phase, right? So we have a, in the testing phase, we found some defects. And when I found the defect in the testing phase, what we have to do? We have to correct, right? The defect in the coding level. What we have? So if we get the defect in testing phase, we have to correct that mistake. I mean, we have to correct the defect in coding part. And again, the same defect we have to correct in the designing level. And again, correct in the requirement level. So if you find any defect, any of these phases, we have to go back to previous phases and we need to modify the documents accordingly. So that is again more cost, that the total investment is more. If we want to do rework, we have to invest a lot. That will cause the rework, right? So if we find any defects in some phase, we need to change. Suppose in the testing part, okay, testing phase found some defects accordingly, we have to change the coding. And developer should work on that. That is again rework, and again the designers will change the documents accordingly. So that is also rework, and we have to change the requirement. So we have to correct the requirement, that is also rework. So whenever you do some rework, the cost will be more. So that is the another disadvantage of waterfall model. Okay. So that's why I'm saying here, sometimes total investment is more because time taking for rework on defect is time consuming, which leads to high investment. So what is the fourth point? Testing will start after coding. So what is that meaning? Testing will start after coding. So we have only one phase, right? One phase of testing. So after completion of three phases, here we have testing phase, requirement analysis, system designing. After complete implementation, after that only we get testing phase. If we have find any defects in the testing phase, accordingly we change the code and we have changed the implementation. We have to change the design and we have to change the requirements to change the requirements. So we have only one phase of testing phase here. So we don't have different phases of testing. So the chances of bugs will be more. So that's why this is very old and traditional model. The companies are following. Initial days of IT industry started a long back. Okay. So now based on these drawbacks, the new models are coming in the market. So if you see the disadvantage of first point here, requirement changes are not allowed. Okay, so because if the customer given some requirement in the middle of the process, the customer come back and ask us to change the requirement, they may have given some new requirement. These changes are commonly there, right? We should able to accommodate those changes in the software. And here we have only one phase of testing. If you find any defects in the previous phases, that will continue to the next phases. So that is also again the biggest problem. So to overcome this particular problem, we have another model called spiral model, which is also called iterative model. Okay. You got it, Vinod? Are you getting my point?
Yeah, madam. You got it.
Yeah, it's very, is it clear for you? Or
Yeah, it's
you
very,
want me
yeah, it's very clear.
yeah, you want me to repeat once again waterfall model because in interview purpose, the interviewers will ask you if
Yeah, yeah,
see if there is a
yeah,
project of
madam.
waterfall model. So previously, in my current company, the first project is based on waterfall model. Okay. So
Okay,
after
okay.
that,
Yes.
I got agile methodology, project flow.
Yeah.
So they ask me they ask me waterfall model related scenarios. So that's why I'm
Okay.
telling you very clearly. I'm going very slow so
Yes.
that you can
Yeah.
understand that waterfall model.
Yeah, madam. Clearly understand. A little bit the
You
notes
want
on
me to
what
repeat
Agile
that?
madam. No, no
I'm
repeat.
sorry. Yeah, yeah. Actually, your voice is not clear,
Yeah,
Vinod. I
clear,
don't
madam.
know why.
Yeah, madam. Wait one
So,
second. Yeah,
okay.
no, madam. Are you
Yeah,
audible? My
waterfall model
voice?
is it, yeah, waterfall model, is it clear for you?
Yeah, it's clear.
I'm sorry. Please, if you're not able to talk,
It's very
please
clear.
ping me here. Yeah, clear.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next model is spiral model. It will take another 1 hour, I think, or 40 minutes. So we discuss tomorrow. We will discuss a spiral model, and then later I will
Yeah, okay,
show
madam.
you.
Tomorrow we'll discuss.
Yeah. So 3 and 4th one. Here prototype model or B model. B model is also taking 1 hour. Okay. And we will discuss about verification, validation, HLD, what is HLD, LLD, static testing, dynamic testing. So these, what are the levels of testing? So these testings we will discuss in further session. So
Okay.
we will provide the document to you. So please go through
Sure.
it and prepare well. Hmm?
Yes.
If you have
Yeah,
any
no,
doubts,
thanks, madam.
ping me. What? Yeah, ping me through WhatsApp. Okay.
Sure, madam. Sure.
Yeah. Shall we connect tomorrow? Today, Friday, right? I'm sorry. Tomorrow, I think session is not there. Tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday
Okay.
is a holiday.
Okay.
So
Tomorrow
ETech will
only
update
madam.
you.
Sure, madam.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I'm going to
Thank you.
stop this. Yeah. Bye. Take care.
Bye.